Timothy John Batan, Undersecretary for Railways. Attorney Artemio Tuazon, Undersecretary for Administrative Service. Attorney Rainer Paul Yebra, Undersecretary for Legal Services. Engineer Ruben Reynoso, Undersecretary for Planning. Ms. Anneli Lontok, Undersecretary, Philippine Railway Institute and Bus Rapid Transit. Attorney Mark Steven Pastor, Assistant Secretary for Road Transport and Infrastructure. Mr. Jaime Alberto C. Melo, Assistant Secretary for Aviation. Dr. Sheila G. Napalang, Assistant Secretary for Planning. Vice Admiral Narciso A. Vingson Jr., Assistant Secretary for Maritime. Brigadier General Fidel T. Cruz, Assistant Secretary for Railways. Brigadier General Manuel S. Gonzalez, Assistant Secretary for Special Concerns, Interagency Council for Traffic, Chief. Mr. Aymard Ehe, Assistant Secretary, OIC General Manager, Metro Rail Transit Line 3, together with Mr. Michael J. Capati, Director for Operations, and Ms. Marisa de la Cruz, Supervising Administrative Officer. Ms. Goodis Hope Libiran, Assistant Secretary, Communications and Commuter Affairs. R.D. Francis Ray Almora, CISO 6, OIC Regional Director, CAR, together with Ms. Jenilyn Avellino and Ms. Melo Jean Galvan, OIC Chief Finance Division. Engineer Nordi L. Plaza, CESO 4, OIC Regional Director, Caraga, together with Engineer Ramel P. Leones, Chief Planning and Technical Services Division. Mr. Edgar C. Galvante, Assistant Secretary, Land Transportation Office, together with Ms. Asuncion Cruz, OIC Budget Section. Attorney Martin B. Delgrado III, Chairman, Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, together with Ms. Maria Cristina Casion, Executive Director. Mr. Joel Bolano, Chief TDO, Ms. Melody Luna, OIC Director for Finance Division. Director Carmelo L. Arcilia, Executive Director, Civil Aeronautics Board, together with Director Alexander Paul T. Rivera, Deputy Executive Director, and Attorney Jean Marione Bermudez, Chief of Planning Division. Mr. Eugene M. Pabualan, OIC, Office of the Chairman, Office of Transport Cooperatives, together with Attorney Christian Oberio, Legal Officer 3, Mr. Manuel Jose D. Camagay, Head OTC PMO, and Ms. Eleanor C. Mupas, Budget Officer. Yusik Raul Del Rosario, Administrator, Office for Transportation Security, together with Mr. Michael Africa, Executive Assistant 3, Ms. Lourdes T. Sales, Chief Budget Division, and Mr. Elvin Tinsay, Chief Accountant. Attorney Alvin Carullo, Executive Director, Toll Regulatory Board, together with Mr. Jos Carlos G. Ordilano, Chief Regulation Division, and Ms. Josephine Torbolincia, Chief Finance and Administrative Division. Vice Admiral Leopoldo Laroya, Commandant, Philippine Coast Guard, together with CG Vice Admiral Eduardo D. Fabricante, Deputy Commandant for Operations, Ms. Dorothy Mangkalimot, DCS for Controllership, and Ms. Rodeline Angeles, Assistant DCS for Controllership. Vice Admiral Robert A. Empedrad, AFP Retired Administrator, Maritime Industry Authority, together with Engineer Nanette Villamor Dinopol, Deputy Administrator for Operations, Attorney Jean Verpia, OIC Deputy Administrator for Planning, and Mr. Ralph Narvaez, Chief Budget Division. Captain Jim Sindionco, Director General, Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, together with Attorney Danjun Lucas, Chief of Staff, Department Manager 3, CAAP. Brigadier General John L. Estabilio, AFP Retired, Deputy Director General for Administration. Lieutenant Colonel Valentino A. Dionela, Philippine Air Force Retired. And Mr. Marco Antonino A. Javier, OIC Corporate Planning Office. Attorney Elmer Nonatos Cadano, Assistant General Manager, Philippine Ports Authority, together with Mr. Rosel O. Babadilla, Acting Department Manager, Mr. Elvis R. Medalla, Acting Department Manager, and Ms. Angelina A. Liose, Planning Chief. Mr. June B. Magno, General Manager, Philippine National Railways, together with Attorney Celeste D. Lauta, Assistant General Manager, Mr. Wendell Mark Archua, OIC Operations Department, Mr. Eddie V. Monreal, General Manager, Manila International Airport Authority, together with Attorney Jermaine Formento, Head Executive Assistant, Mr. Enrico Francisco Gonzalez, Assistant General Manager for ADCA, Ms. Arlene B. Britannico, Assistant General Manager for Finance and Administration, Mr. Leonilo Miole, General Manager, Cebu Ports Authority, together with Mr. Lynn Castillo, Acting Deputy General Manager, Incumbent Bad Manager, Ms. Alma Wong, Budget Officer, Mr. Julius Neri Jr., General Manager and CEO, Mactan Cebu International Airport Authority, together with Mr. Elmar Tagalogo in OIC Finance Department, Ms. Era I. Burinaga, Budget Division Manager. General Reynaldo Beroya, Assistant Light Rail Transit Authority, together with Ms. Marilu Lescano, Manager Finance Department, LRTA, and Ms. Maria Corazon S. Pascual, Manager Budgeting and Financial Planning Division. COA representatives for DOTr are as follows: Ms. Maria Carmela E. Marcos, Attorney Cherry Andy Viernes Zulia, Ms. Ninita Vitalion, Ms. Norodin J. Mira Ato, Ms. Cecilia B. Bernales, Ms. Nelia Melissa A. Rio Dique, and Ms. Marilu Alquero, Ms. Adora C. Sinesa, and Ms. Lourdes Lorna A. Quintang. That's all, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you to our Secretariat. I believe that Senator, okay, let me just stress the following. There is a simultaneous hearing ongoing now, which I know that a lot of our senators, or most of our senators present here, would also like to attend. So after the opening statements of the senators who would like to manifest an opening, may I request DOTr to please go straight to their budget proposal and the highlights of what they've achieved. We cannot accommodate a very long presentation given that there are also other simultaneous hearings ongoing. So, Senator Risa, you have the floor, ma'am.
Maraming salamat, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to all my colleagues, Chair Grace Poe, and members of the DOTr who are present today. I apologize that I won't be able to stay for the duration of the briefing, but please allow me to manifest my concerns for the agency. I'll also be submitting the details of these queries in writing. The pandemic has not only affected the country's health system and economy, but it has also ravaged the transportation sector. We recognize the efforts made by the agency over the past year to adapt our transportation system to the new normal. However, we still face the same problems we had from a year ago, from the concerns on livelihood of our jeepney drivers to the safety of our commuters on a daily basis. For the 2022 budget of the agency, we'd like to place on record our main issues, which will be elaborated in my submission to the committee through our chair. Our first concern is for service contracting. Madam Chair, I firmly believe that service contracting is one of the key programs to help jumpstart the transportation sector and secure jobs and livelihoods lost to the pandemic. We'd like to know from the department, why is there no budget for service contracting in 2022? May we also know the status of the implementation of this program through Bayanihan 2. Our second concern is the implementation of the PUV modernization program of the DOTr. One of which I'd like to ask is on the subsidies given to our operators to comply with the PUV modernization. I also met with various transport cooperatives, raising issues ranging from route consolidation and rationalization, access to loan facilities, and need for technical and capacity building assistance. I'd also like to raise the concerns of small transport operators like the CB Joday on some concerns with regards to the improvement of transport infrastructure and other bottlenecks towards modernization. Madam Chair, our jeepney operators and drivers have endured the loss of livelihood and lack of support from the government from the start of the pandemic. Sana hindi naman natin sila makalimutan sa ating mga plano ngayon na nagbubukas muli ang ekonomiya. Another issue I wanted to raise would be the disruption in the livelihoods of cooperative workers, particularly in Calapan, Mindoro Oriental, as well as other ports in the country. I'd like to understand the rationale behind the PPA's terminal management regulatory framework amidst accusations of irregularities in the conduct of public bidding and the alleged non-readiness of the winning bidder. Ang aking huling concern ay ukol sa safe reopening ng public transportation sa new normal. Since the start of the pandemic, together with labor groups, I've been raising concerns with regards to ligtas balik trabaho at pasada. How will the DOTr ensure commuter safety? More importantly, how will the DOTr help in ensuring that the operators and drivers of the jeepneys will comply with the minimum health protocols? These are just broad strokes of my concerns with the agency. I hope that the good secretary, through the committee, through our chair, will help in answering these concerns. Marami pong salamat, Madam Chair. Mabuhay po kayong lahat.
Thank you, Senator Risa. Would you like to hear a brief response before you leave?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll still be staying for about a quarter of an hour. Salamat po.
Okay, so would you want them to do a presentation first of their budget, or do you want a brief response from them?
If they have a brief response at the moment, Madam Chair, I'd appreciate hearing it.
Sige, let's start with that, so that you're free to decide if you have to leave. Secretary Tugade, can you please address the questions of Senator Hontiveros? Thank you, sir.
Yes, Madam Chair. Magandang hapon sa inyo lahat. Yung mga bagay-bagay ho na i-bring up ni Senator Hontiveros, addressin po namin isa-isa. Mabilisan po in the interest of time. Yung iba po, karamihan doon, detalyado, nandoon sa video presentation na aming nagawa na hindi naman may ipipresenta pa ngayon. Una ho.
Secretary, pasensya na po. Pwede pong lakasan lang ng konti yung pagsalita kasi hindi po namin marinig masyado. Sorry po.
Narinig na po ako, ma'am.
Is it okay, guys? Okay, thank you, sir.
Gaya po ng nasabi ko kanina, addressin po natin yung mga bagay-bagay na i-release ni Senator Hontiveros. Mga bagay ho na napaloob sa video presentation na aming ginawa. Kaya nga lang, in the interest of time as we speak today, hindi po natin may pipresenta at may habol yung video. However, addressing it on a very categorical and cryptic manner. Number one, yung budget ho sa service contracting, agreed. Talagang mahalaga ho yan para sa Department of Transportation, para sa kagawaran. Nagsumite ho kami ng budget dyan na 10 billion. Kaya lang hindi na isama sa NEP. Kaya nga, makikiusap po kami na kung maaari, tulungan niyo po kami na mailagay itong budget na to. Ganyan din po ang ginawa namin sa House of Representatives. Doon ho sa mga bagay-bagay na disruptions of work in Calapan, yung small concerns ng mga small transport operators, ibibigay ko ho yung with the permission of the chair sa LTFRB at sa PPA nang sa ganun ma-address itong mga isyong ito. Ganun din po yung issue sa commuter service. With the permission of the chair, I would like to be able to ask the following to make a cryptic presentation. Si Mr. Yusek Banoy Lopez, susundan po ni Mr. Chuck Delgra at ni Asek Steve Pastor, at tapos po yung General Manager ng PPA para ma-address yung issue ng disruption of work sa Calapan with the permission of the chair.
Okay, Senator Lisa, are you satisfied with the response?
Actually, Madam Chair, Sec Tugade was asking the chair's permission to allow the PPA head and a few others, I think, of his
No,
department.
yes. Go ahead.
Madam
Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee, Your Honors, magandang hapon po.
Can you speak? I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty with the audio. I really can't hear very well.
I'm sorry,
I think your mic is not working. You should be closer to the monitor. Yung IT nga ng DOTr, pakiayos. Nahirapan akong marinig eh.
Our apologies, Madam Chairwoman.
Madam
Kaya,
Chair?
Ma'am, can you...
Oh yeah, that's a little better. Thank you.
Salamat
Madam
po.
Chairwoman.
Your Honors, Madam Chairwoman, magandang hapon nga po. Tama po yung sinabi ni Senator Hontiveros, yung mga pinunto niya po tulad ng PUVMP, yung modernization program, pati po yung mga iba't ibang budget na kinakailangan ng ating mananakay, ng ating mga transport workers and transport organization. Para po sa kaalaman po ng Senado, na po, humingi po tayo, nagsumiti po tayo sa DBM ng budget para sa road sector natin. But what is alarming, Madam Chairwoman, Senator Hontiveros, binigyan po tayo sa NEP natin ng 1 million lang po para sa ating road sector. Kaya po ngayon po is nakikiusap po kami sa inyo na sana po maibalik natin itong mga importanteng mga proyektong ito para po sa ating, hindi lang po sa mananakay, kundi po sa kabuuan ng ating transport sector. Ngayon po, para po sagutin yung issue naman po ng Calapan, ibibigay ko po kay GMJ Santiago, ganun din po yung mga specific issues sa mga health protocols na ating ginagawa sa ating transport, no, kay LTFRB Chairman Delgra po. Ibibigay ko po muna kay GMJ Santiago, Madam Chairwoman.
Alam niyo po, I think kaya hindi ito pinayagan ng DBM kasi as of now, 3.3 billion dun sa service contracting ang hindi pa ninyo na ibibigay as a payout. So, hindi niyo nagamit last year. And I don't even know the direction now. In fact, later on, I will present that marami pa kayong hindi nababayaran na nakapag-provide na ng serbisyo. Anyway, go ahead. If you can answer those.
Hahabol lang ako, Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Marcos is
Yes, that's
recognized.
exactly the same follow-up that, in fact, the service contracting program, as queried by Senator Ontiveros, was suspended on account of the fact that the DOTr consistently failed to disburse. And the validity of the law had already expired. And then it resumed again on September 10 with 3 million allotted again. Under 2021 GAA. Ang gulo, pagkatapos may balita na naman, may 3.38 billion na naman, inilabas na naman from unpaid Bayanihan 2 funds. So, whereas gustong-gusto natin na tuloy-tuloy itong service contracting dahil kailangan talaga, ba't naman ganito kagulo na yung kwenta? Napaka-komplikado, may pera na, nag-lapse, hindi na disburse, dinagdagan, nagluwal pa ng karagdagan. Asa na ba tayo? Yun ang tanong.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Secretary Tugade.
alam niyo ho yung service contracting, ang pondo ho niyan, dalawa ho yung pinanggagalingan niyan. Yung tinatawag na Bayanihan 2 at yung GAA. Pwede hong i-explain mamaya ng pamunuan ng LTFRB na kung saan doon sa pondo ng Bayanihan 2 na may nabanggit na hindi nagastos yung mga 3 billion, mapapakita po yung estado niyan mamaya. Yung finding po na hindi nagastos yung Bayanihan 2, 3 billion sa Bayanihan 2, hanggang Disyembre lang po, pero mapapaliwanag ho yan. Pangalawa ho, yung inumpisahan ulit na service contracting, nanggaling ho yan sa GAA na inapprove na ho ng OP. Kaya nga, nung nakarang linggo, inumpisahan ho ulit yan. Magkakaroon din po ng accounting dito sa tinatawag na service contracting ng LTFRB. Mamaya ho, kung mabibigyan ng pagkakataon, at mapakita ho, sana ho, maklaro yung sources of funds and how the sources of funds were actually utilized in service contracting. Please remember, meron hong dalawang timeline ho ito. Yung pinanggagalingan na hindi nagastos ang 3 billion, ang cut-off ho niyan sa COA, December cut-off ho yan. Ngayon ho, bago na ho yung taon, kaya magbibigay ho ng current status at mapapakita na talagang nagagastos po naman yung provision under Bayanihan 2. Mamaya ho, ipapaliwanag ni Chairman Delgra at ni Asek Pastor at Yusek Banoy yung mga detalye ng mga financial figures po na yan. Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Tugade. Let us proceed with this, who was in the middle of responding, the resource person from DOTr.
Madam Chairwoman, opo, si GMJ Santiago po para sagutin po yung katanungan ni Senator Ontiveros sa Calapan Port.
Go ahead,
po,
Mr.
Madam Chair.
Santiago. Thank you.
Magandang hapon po, Madam Chair, at magandang hapon po sa ating mga senador. Mabilis lamang pong tugon doon po sa concern na ni-raise po ni Senator Ontiveros. Yun pong sinasabi po ni Senator Ontiveros na ating pong ginagawang bidding sa ating mga terminal. Ang tawag po dyan ay yung PPA Port Terminal Management Regulatory Framework. Ito pong polisiya pong ito ay naipasa pa po nung nakaraang administrasyon at naibigang katuparan lamang po noong 2018 sa kasalukuyang administrasyon po matapos po ang sumunod na konsultasyon sa lahat po ng stakeholders para po doon sa implementing guidelines and terms of reference po para po sa gagawing bidding. Mabanggit ko lamang po bago po natin talakayin yung pong issue sa Calapan. Sa ngayon po, Madam Chair, tayo po ay nakapag-bid out at mag-award na po tayo sa 11 terminal po na dati pong ino-operate ng Philippine Ports Authority. Nakapag-bid out na po tayo ng 11 terminal. Ayon po sa tala po ng kikitain po ng pamahalaan, ang binibigay po nating kontrata ay 15 taon po, no? So by comparison po sa nakaraang 15 taon at ikukumpara po sa darating na 15 taon, ang kikitain po ng pamahalaan dito po sa ating terminal management framework po natin ay halos mag-aabot po ng 1,000%, Madam Chair, kumpara po sa kinita sa 15 taon. So maganda po ito para sa pamahalaan, Madam Chair. Diretso lamang po doon sa issue po sa Calapan. Yung pong dating nag-ooperate po ng cargo handling po sa Calapan, yun pong kooperatiba po na tawag po ay Calcedeco. Yung po Calsideco, ang kontrata po niya sa terminal po ng Calapan ay nag-expire na po noong 2015. At simula 2015 po hanggang nagbidding po, ay naka-hold over authority lamang po ang Calsideco doon po sa Calapan. Nilalayon po nung terminal regulatory framework po natin na mabigyan po na mas permanenteng kontrata yun pong mga interesado pong terminal operators, pati na rin po, lalong-lalo na po, yung kanila pong mga empleyado para magkaroon po sila ng security of tenure at saka security of income po. Ang nilalayon din po ng terminal regulatory framework po na ma-improve po at mapaganda po ang serbisyo sa ating mga terminal. Sa ngayon po, yung concern po ni Senator Ontiveros, particular po doon sa mga nagtatrabaho po sa Pantalan, nakalagay po doon sa ating polisiya at sa terms of reference po ng bidding, lalong-lalo na po doon sa kontrata po sa ating mga terminal operators, na lahat po ng mga empleyado po ng nakaraang cargo handler, sila po i-absorb at i-hire as long as kwalipikado po sila. So sa ngayon po sa Calapan, yung pong bagong terminal operator po doon, ay nag-open na po ng employment at sa katunayan po, may mga empleyado na po dati ng Calsideco na inabsorb na po at hinire po ng bagong terminal operator po sa Calapan, Madam Chair. Yun lamang po, marami pong salamat.
Marami pong salamat, GM Santiago. Maraming salamat din po, Madam Chair. I will pursue these issues into the plenary with the support of the Chair. Also because, Madam Chair, just for the record, live issue po talaga itong sa Calsideco sa Port of Calapan. Sinimulan din po namin italakay as part of a hearing of the Senate Committee on Cooperatives. Ang Calsideco po ay kooperatiba na sa mahabang panahon since the start of that port in Calapan has been operating and has actually been receiving awards for their performance, even in terms of yung employment nila at treatment sa kanilang mga employees. But I'll leave it at that for now, Madam Chair. Also for the record, by the way, yung dalawang counterparts natin ng mga representatives of Mindoro Oriental are supporting Calsideco and the employees sa kanilang laban. Pero maraming salamat, Madam Chair. Maraming salamat, Secretary Tugade at yung ating resource persons. Mabuhay, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Risa. Thank you for bringing to light that particular issue in Calapan. We will certainly follow up with a submission from them, a report that will hopefully help our discussion in plenary and give light to the situation. Thank you. Any other senators who would like to have an opening before we begin with the presentation? No, okay. DOTr, we are ready now with your presentation. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair. Nagpipigay bukay po ako at nagbibigay galang sa ating mahal na Chairperson, Senator Grace po, at sa mga miyembro ng komite. Meron po kaming hinandang 9 minutes video kung mararapatin at ipapahintulot ni Madam Chair. Ito ho yung para hong magsisilbing aming opening statement. Ito po ang magpapakita po kung ano yung mga nagawa, ano yung gusto pang gawin. In outline form, ito ho ang magpapakita at magtataguyod dito sa aming budget presentation. Pagkatapos po, Madam Chair, nitong 9 minutes presentation, ay ibibigay ko po, with the permission of the Chair, yung floor. Para nang sa ganon, yung ating USEC sa finance ay ibigay yung highlight naman po ng aming budget. With the permission of the Chair, for the 9-minute video po.
Okay, I will allow it so that we'll know. Kasama na dito yung mga na-deliver ninyo, di ba?
Opo, yung sa 4 na sektor po, ano yung mga ginagawa. Kasama rin po dito yung kung ano yung ginawa namin at ginagawa namin sa pandemya. Kasama rin po dito yung mga remittance na nagawa namin. Pagkat nakakalimutan ho na yung Department of Transportation, nakakalimutan na ito ho'y nagre-remit din sa kaban ng bayan at ipapakita namin. Alam nyo po, in mga 4 to 5 years without preempting the video presentation, naka 50 billion contribution ho kami diretso sa kaban. Ay ipapakita po namin yan with the permission of the...
Go ahead, please. Wala ba talagang sound yan?
At tinatanong ko nga yung IT namin, bakit nawala yung sound?
Okay.
Pasensya na po, we beg the indulgence of the committee, ma'am.
That's okay. We're patiently waiting.
Significant strides to improve the country's public transport system. Transformation has been initiated and implemented, and efforts to revolutionize our country's transport system are in full swing. Question is, where are we now? Since July 2016, the DOTr started to work on addressing difficult issues that seem impossible to address. Who can ever forget the infamous Laglag Bala racket at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport? Before, air passengers travel with tapes covering their bags, fearing they might fall as victims. Now, Laglag Bala is a thing of the past, as stringent procedures were set in baggage handling. From being tagged as one of the world's worst airports, the NAIA is now recognized as one of the world's most improved. Before, the MRT3 is often plagued with train derailment, unloading incidents, long lines, and constant service interruptions. Now, with the ongoing massive rehabilitation of the MRT3, trains are now running smoothly on brand new rails at a record speed of 60 kilometers per hour and with faster turnaround time. New air conditioning units were installed in trains, and all elevators and escalators are now fully operational. Before, driver's license was a piece of paper. Driver's license backlogs also topped at 3 million. Now, driver's license applicants can get their license cards with a 5-year validity, which can be extended to 10 years, provided that the driver has a clean record. Before, vehicles from cars to motorcycles ply the roads with no license plates due to years of backlog in its issuance. Now, we are not just producing plates locally via the LTO plate making facility, but also addressing the millions of backlog that accumulated since 2014. Today, we have produced and distributed over 3.9 million pairs of motor vehicle plates and 3.6 million motorcycle plates. Before, seaports and airports devastated by calamities endured years of neglect. Now, they are getting much needed facelift with our non-stop rehabilitation works and development projects. The DOTr has also been relentless in pushing for the completion of various transport infrastructure projects across the country under the Build program. In the aviation sector, the DOTr has completed 214 airport projects while working on 100 more. Completed projects include the Clark International Airport's new passenger terminal building. This new terminal shall become operational within the year. Bohol Panglao International Airport, which was inaugurated on November 27, 2018. The feasibility study for the Bohol Panglao International Airport started way back in year 2000. The Mactan Cebu International Airport, which was inaugurated on June 7, 2018. The Sangli Airport in Cavite, which was inaugurated on February 15, 2020. The Dumaguete Airport that was inaugurated on March 11, 2021. The CNS ATM, inaugurated on January 16, 2018. The CNS ATM increased the number of our air traffic radars from merely 3 in 2016 to 13. This enables air traffic authorities to monitor 100% of the Philippine airspace. Other airport projects inaugurated since July 2016 include Calbayog in Samar, Calibo in Aklan, Ormoc. Ligaraw, San Vicente Airport in Palawan, Butuan Airport, Siquijor Airport, Catarman Airport Rehabilitation Project, and many more. Before the end of President Duterte's term in 2022, the DOTr will inaugurate the new Bicol International Airport. This airport has a capacity of 2 million passengers per year. Prior to this administration, the Bicol International Airport was delayed for 11 years and went through 3 groundbreaking ceremonies. And the General Santos International Airport, which will be inaugurated in September 2021. In the railway sector, we have completed the LRT2 East Extension Project, which started operations on July 5, 2021. This project got its NEDA approval way back in 2012. Before 2021 ends, 2 more projects are for completion and for partial operations. We have the Common Station, which is targeted for completion this December 2021. This project was originally approved by the NEDA ICC in 2006. The MRT3 rehabilitation project is also slated for completion this December 2021. Several ongoing massive railway projects are due for trial runs before the end of President Duterte's term. The MRT7 project is slated for trial runs for stations 4 to 8 in April 2022. The unsolicited proposal for the MRT7 was first submitted to the then DOTC in 2001, while the concession agreement was signed in 2008. For the Metro Manila Subway, trial runs shall be conducted from East Valenzuela to the Philippine Railway Institute in April 2022. The concept for the Metro Manila Subway started in 1973. The Philippine Railways Institute, our Railways Research and Training Center, shall have its partial operations in June 2022. Construction works are likewise in full swing for the LRT1 Cavite extension. NEDA ICC approval was received 2 decades ago, and the right-of-way acquisition started in 2007. The PNR Clark Phase 1 of the massive North-South Commuter Railway, or NSCR, will reduce travel time between Tutuban and Malolos from 1 hour and 30 minutes to just 35 minutes. The PNR Clark Phase 2, the second leg of the NSCR, will reduce travel time from Malolos to Clark from 1 hour and 30 minutes to just 35 minutes. And the PNR Calamba, which will cut travel time from Solis in Manila to Calamba in Laguna from 3 hours to just 1 hour. Works are also ongoing to revive the much-awaited PNR Bicol, which will connect Manila to Sorsogon and Port of Batangas. Over the south, the Mindanao Railway is expected to have partial operations of its Taguig-Carmen segment in October 2022. Let us now go to our road transport sector. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, the DOTr, along with concerned agencies, has completed the establishment of almost 500 kilometers of bike lanes in Metro Manila, Metro Cebu, and Metro Davao. We have also started the establishment of dedicated median lanes for public utility buses in EDSA for commuters. With the EDSA busway, travel time via bus from Monumento to PITX was reduced from 3 to 4 hours to just 50 minutes. In 2018, we were able to start the operations of the country's first land port, the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange, or PITX, that has the maximum capacity of 100,000 passengers daily. In the maritime sector, we have completed 451 seaport projects and working on 101 more. Included in our completed seaport projects are the Port of Cagayan de Oro, the country's biggest PTB to date, ports of Tagbilaran and Maribojoc in Bohol, ports of Borac, San Fernando, and Bataraza in Palawan, Port of Dumaguete, Salumaga in Ilocos Sur, Babac Port in Davao del Norte, and General Santos Port. Meanwhile, we have ongoing projects to be completed before the Duterte administration ends. These projects include the Calapan Port, which can accommodate 3,500 passengers at any given time, and the Zamboanga Port, which can accommodate 4,000 passengers at any given time. Port of Lucena in Quezon and Port of Abra de Ilog in Occidental Mindoro are also ready for inauguration, while the Coron Port Expansion Project is scheduled for inauguration in December 2021. The Corimao Port in Ilocos Norte will be inaugurated in November 2021. As part of its modernization program, the Philippine Coast Guard is now stronger in terms of workforce. From only 7,000 in 2016, the PCG is almost 21,000 strong. In July, the DOTr and PCG have also launched one of the two 94-meter multi-role response vessel of PCG, the largest of its fleet, that will further boost the agency's maritime security and safety capabilities. As part of the whole-of-government approach to put an end to the raging COVID-19 pandemic, the DOTr has also been doing its part in extending the necessary assistance to the transportation sector, including our daily commuters. We have implemented the service contracting program, where drivers are paid on a per-kilometer run basis with or without passengers. Total disbursement as of August 30 is 1.9 billion pesos. We also provided free ride service for medical frontliners and essential workers. As of September 5, 2021, this program has recorded a total of 31.6 million ridership nationwide. Rental payments for airport food, retail, and lounge concessionaires at the NAIA and CAAP-operated regional airports have been waived for the entire 2021. As the strict quarantine classifications are enforced in Metro Manila, offers free train rides to vaccinated upwards at the MRT3, LRT2, and PNR lines. Through the Hatid Tulong initiative, we have also given assistance to individuals who wish to go back to their home provinces. As of September 5, 2021, a total of 1,121,739 returning overseas Filipinos have been transported via air, maritime, and road transport. We have also activated several crew change hubs in different parts of the country to protect and uphold the welfare of our Filipino seafarers amid the pandemic. The DOTr maritime sector has likewise converted two of its quarantine facilities into isolation facilities. The Eva Macapagal Super Terminal in Pier 15 in Manila and the Port of Capinpin in Orayon, Bataan. While another quarantine facility was established by the Coast Guard in its base in Taguig City. In 2020, the DOTr remitted a total of 19.27 billion pesos in dividends from its attached GOCCs to support government spending measures amid the COVID-19 crisis. In the last 5 years, the DOTr and its attached GOCCs have remitted more than 50 billion pesos to the National Treasury. Among our top-performing agencies are the Philippine Ports Authority, Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, and the Manila International Airport Authority. Apart from our accomplished programs and projects, the DOTr has also been advocating for transparency and an uncompromising culture against corruption and red tape. Live streams of procurement processes are posted on the DOTr's Facebook account, from pre-procurement to opening of bids. As part of our anti-corruption activities, the DOTr was able to dismiss 203 personnel and suspended other 42 due to corruption-related cases since July 2016. In the last 4 years, the DOTr has been recognized as one of the top performing agencies in the Freedom of Information Awards, which gives recognition to agencies that exhibit utmost transparency to the public. Further, the DOTr and its attached agencies have shifted to digitization, which includes the implementation of online application or renewal of licenses, use of automated fare collection system for PUVs, cashless toll collection, use of contact tracing application at ports, airports, and rail lines, among others. These accomplishments in the transportation sector have created a much broader spectrum of opportunities for the country's development. By addressing the transportation infrastructure bottlenecks and gaps, the Department of Transportation has been consistent with its trust and long-term outlook by investing in mobility and connectivity across the archipelago.
Okay, thank you for your interesting presentation. I will open the floor now to some questions from our senators present. Who I think Senator Nancy, you logged on first. Do you have a question or do you want me to start? Doesn't matter.
Madam Chairperson, yun na ba yung presentation nila? Kasi parang
Parang-
wala yung budget for next year.
Ewan ko sa kanila. Yung budget po ninyo, wala ba?
Madam Chairwoman, with the permission of the Madam Chairwoman po, we're going to present our 2022 proposed budget as recommended by DBM, Madam Chairwoman.
Yes, go
Just a
ahead.
few
please.
slides.
Can you expedite, please? Go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you.
First slide, please. As shown in the screen po, no, the total new appropriations of DOTr for 2022 as proposed by DBM is in the amount of 150.7 billion, broken down as follows. For personal services, we have 16.7 billion. For MOOE, we have 16.8 billion. For financial expenses, 7.8 million. For capital outlays, 117.13 million. This amount, this 150.7 new appropriation, covers not only the DOTr OSEC, this includes MRT3, this includes DOTr Caraga, CAR, our sectoral offices, LTO, LTFRB, our attached agencies, CAB, OTC, OTS, PCG, Marina, and TRB. Next slide, please. In terms of percentages, Madam Chairwoman, our capital outlays is composed of 78% of our total new appropriations. The personal services and the MOOE composed of 11% each, and a minimal financial expense of 7.88 million. This will cover our usual bank service charges and expenses, Madam Chairwoman. Next slide, please. Now, for the component of our MOE allocation or allotment class, 39.2% of the total 16.8 billion goes to our regular MOE requirements. When we say regular MOE requirements, this covers the entire offices, not only of the DOTr OSEC, but also the other attached and sectoral offices of Department of Transportation. Now, the bulk of our MOE goes to our MRT3. First, the subsidy for mass transport in the amount of 7.1 billion. This will cover the deficit sa fare box with MRTC, and the MRT3 rehabilitation project in the amount of 3.1. Ito po yung binabayad natin sa Sumitomo. While technically po this subsidy for mass transport and MRT3 rehabilitation project, these are infrastructure project, no? Naka-classify po siya sa atin MOE for the simple reason that MRT3 ownership has not yet been transferred to the government. Next slide, please. Now, for the components of our capital outlays allocation, Our total capital outlays allocation po as per net is 117.1 billion. And this is broken down as follows. For our regular capital outlays, ito po yung mga regular office equipments, etc., that covers the entire DOTr, including its sectoral and attached agencies, in the amount of 133 million. For feasibility studies, the amount of 50 million. For payment of right-of-way, the amount of 12.6 billion, but this covers the entire sectors po. Kasama po ang air, rail, road, and maritime. Then we have IPIF in the amount of 1.2 billion. This is a necessary consequence of our agreement with ADB. And lastly, the infrastructure projects of 103.84 billion. At this juncture, Madam Chairwoman, let me just emphasize the concept and the breakdown of our infrastructure projects. Out of the 103 billion infrastructure project, Madam Chairwoman, 98% of that goes to our rail sector. Then the remaining 2% is broken down to our air sector, maritime, and to our road sector. As a matter of fact, Madam Chairwoman, for our air sector, we only have 4 projects amounting to more or less 1.6 billion. For our maritime sector, we only have 1 locally funded project and another 2 foreign assisted projects. And again, for emphasis, Madam Chairwoman, for our road sector, we were given 1 million pesos for the entire road sector, inclusive of LTO and LTFRB. And out of this 103 billion, Madam Chairwoman, what is needed to be emphasized here, Madam Chairwoman, 92% of this is foreign assisted project, Madam Chairwoman, and only 8% is locally funded project. Next slide, please. This is a comparative budget or summary of our allotment class. As a reference point is our 2021 GAA as compared to our 2022 NEP. As you would notice, Madam Chairwoman, while there is an increase in our personal service of 3.4 billion, this is attributable in the following reasons, Madam Chairwoman. First, our usual standardization law, the increase in salary, and second, in the increase in the personnel of our Coast Guard, Madam Chairwoman, I think around 7,000 warm bodies for our Coast Guard. Now, for our maintenance and other operating expenses, Madam Chairwoman, there is a decrease of 0.44 billion. And this is because, first, the deletion of the service contracting in the amount of 3 billion under our 2021 GAA, the deletion of the PUVMP, the 2 line item being emphasized by Senator Antiveros, Madam Chairwoman, and of course, the deletion of other GOs and COS funding and the MRT3 funding, Madam Chairwoman. Now, for capital outlays, Madam Chairwoman, while there is an increase of 64.3 billion, Madam Chairwoman, this is actually just 30% of what we have asked DBM in our submission during the budget call, Madam Chairwoman. And again, under pain of being redundant, Madam Chairwoman, 98% of this goes to rail and 92% of this is a foreign assisted project, Madam Chairwoman. Next slide, please. To complete our budget, our proposed budget for calendar year 2022, Madam Chairwoman, by operation of law, we have an automatic appropriation in the amount of 325.469 and our special accounts in the amount of 579,814. Total 151.3 billion. That is our proposed DOTr budget for 2022 as recommended by DBM in our NEP, Madam Chairwoman. That ends our presentation, Madam Chairwoman. At this juncture, Madam Chairwoman, we are ready to answer your questions and we are ready to listen to your comments and suggestions, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. It's quite shocking, huh? That rail will be getting 110 billion. Tapos sa road, yung budget nyo, 1 million. Parang nakaka-insulto ata yun, ha? Please explain to us exactly the rail projects. I know that you had it in your presentation, pero to justify 110 billion out of your total budget, ilang percent yun? Teka, yung total budget ninyo is 153 billion. Yun ang hinihingi ninyo. So that's an additional 61 billion. Tapos, doon lang 110 billion. Tapos sinasabi ninyo ngayon na 80% is actually funded by foreign, I guess ODA, foreign loans pa to.
Tama, Madam Chairwoman. 92% actually po.
So
Is
aside
foreign
from this actual amount of 110 billion for the rail, this is only 20% of the actual cost.
included, Madam Chairwoman. And Yusek TJ Batan can explain the rail projects po at this point in time.
Oh,
if
kasi,
you would permit
diba,
me.
parang, alam naman natin na road is also important. Yan yung main thoroughfare natin ngayon. Pero, nilalagay niyo lahat sa rail na ganito kalaking bagsak na nawalan ng pondo yung iba naman ninyong areas of concern. So, can you explain, TJ Batan, parang naging 110 billion, puro rail lahat?
Madam Chairwoman, before I yield the floor to you, Sec TJ. Madam Chairwoman po, no, pagdating po sa roads, during the budget call po, we asked for more or less 15 billion for our road sector. Unfortunately po, DPM gave the road sector just 1 million and gave the bulk of our budget to rail sector because it's a foreign assisted project, Madam Chairwoman. Again, with the permission of Madam Chairwoman, may I yield the floor to you, Sec TJ.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go.
before TJ Batan, Madam Chair, if I may, explain
Yes,
ko lang.
Mr. Secretary. Thank you.
I hope I'm not being overly simplistic. Meron ho kami mga hininging budget sa lahat ng sektor. Yung sa road sector ho, meron ho kaming hininging budget. Meron din ho kaming hininging budget sa maritime at sa aviation. Ang ginawa po ng DBM, inalis po yun. Kaya yung budget sa road, naging 1 million lang. For reasons they only know. We tried to have dialogues with them. Ganun din po sa airport na nabawasan yung mga ibang mga project namin. Mamaya po sa aviation, masasabi rin nyo yung mga project na hiningi namin na nawala, nabawasan din po. Hindi po kami yung nagprograma, Madam Chair, ng kabuuan ng budget na yan. Iba po yung na-approve ng DBM sa hiningi namin sa DBM. Yun po, Madam Chair. Just
Okay,
explain
klaro po yun. Thank you, Secretary. Kasi, it's also within the mandate of the Senate to recommend where the money should be. We have to lessen rail so that the other sectors can be funded. But I'd like to hear TJ Batan
Maraming salamat
for its
po.
presentation.
Thank you po, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, doon po sa katanungan na bakit po karamihan po nung budget ay napunta sa rail, una po sa lahat, ang hiningi po ng DOTr ay hindi lang po para sa rail, nagkataon lang po na karamihan po ng naibigay sa amin, yun lang pong para sa rail. So yung original po naming proposal, meron pong aviation, meron pong maritime, meron pong road, meron din pong rail, but sa kasamaang palad po, ang napagbigyan lang po ng DBM ay yung sa rail po. Una po. Pangalawa po, Madam Chair, bakit po malaki yung amount sa rail? Ito po, Madam Chair, ay sa kadahilanan po na tayo po ay talagang nagka-catch up pagdating po sa ating rail infrastructure. Bali po, meron tayong mga proyekto na 1950 pa po, yung Mindanao Rail. May proyekto po tayo na 1970s pa, yung subway. May proyekto po tayo na 1993 pa, yung NSCR or yung North Rail po, yung PNR Clark natin. May proyekto po tayo na 1999 pa, yung LRT2. May proyekto po tayo na 2000 pa, yung LRT1 Cavite Extension. 2001 po, yung MRT7 po natin. Meron po tayong common station na 2006. Bali po, Madam Chair, yung punto po noon ay naghahabol po tayo. In fact po, Madam Chair, Nagkaroon po ng survey ang World Bank noon pong 2019 at sa kalahatan po ng 119 po ng mga bansa na kabilang doon sa survey na yon, tayo po yung pang 119. Literally po, at the bottom of the heap po tayo ng 119 countries in terms of rail infrastructure. At yan po yung nadatnan natin na 77 kilometers po ng operational railway noon pong 2016. At yan po ang dahilan kung bakit po malaki ang porsyento. Hindi po porsyento, malaki po yung kinakailangan na budget po para po matustusan po natin, maisara po natin yung napakalaking infrastructure gap na atin pong nadatnan. At last point po, Madam Chair, siguro po isang kadahilanan na kung bakit po tayo nag-i-invest sa rail, dahil po doon talaga sa capacity. Kapag po tayo ay nakakakita ng isang urban center, siguro po tayo ay nakabisita na sa Tokyo, sa Hong Kong, sa Jakarta, sa iba pa po sa New York po, makikita po natin na kapag po napakalaki ng syudad, napakadami po ng tao, napakalaki po ng density, hindi na po sapat na yung mga daan lang po ang inaasahan natin. Hindi po sapat na mga sasakyan, mga bus lang po ang inaasahan natin. Kailangan po talaga natin ng high capacity transport. At ang pinakamataas pong capacity na land-based transport ay rail. At para po ma-illustrate yan, Madam Chair, halimbawa, ito pong itinatayo natin na North-South Commuter Rail at pati po ang Metro Manila Subway Project. Ang isang train set po na kinabibilangan ng 8 bagon, expandable po to 10 bagon, ay may kakayanan po na magkasya ng abot po ng mga pasahero na katumbas po ng magkakasya sa 1,300 pong mga sasakyan. 224 po ng mga jeepney at 64 po ng mga bus. So ito pong naabutan po nating congestion, yan po ay nagpapakita na hindi na po sapat na umasa lang tayo sa kalye. Kailangan po nating habulin yung ating infrastruktura sa riles at sa kasamaang palad po, abot sa 3 hanggang 5 dekadang mga proyekto po yung hinahabol natin ngayon. At
Mr.
kaya po
Batan,
kailangan ng malaking investment.
makasingit lang ng konti. No, we fully support the goal of having mass public transport, and of course this can be achieved through the rail sector. But yun lang nga, it's the idea na biglaan lahat ngayon. Kailangan bang lahat yan ma-release kaagad kasi mawawalan naman yung mga ibang programa ninyo. Ang tanong ko naman sa inyo, itong subway, halimbawa, kailan ba ito matatapos? Alam ko nag-umpisa na kayo. So when is the target completion year?
Madam Chair, para po sa Metro Manila Subway, meron po tayong partial operations po ng ating mga pasilidad sa East Valenzuela Station, sa PRI po at pati sa ating Valenzuela Depot. Ito pong first quarter po ng 2022 at ang ating pong
Meron ng
operation.
Teka. Meron ng subway in 2022?
Meron po tayong partially operable po ng mga facilities po ng subway at makakapag-trial run na po tayo by first quarter of 2022.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes, Senator
baka
Bina.
dapat ang tanong yung riding public ba natin makakasakay na sa subway by 2022?
Yung 2022 po natin ay trial runs pa lang po, Madam Chair, at hindi pa po passenger operations.
Yeah. Kasi the way you phrase it, parang makakasakay na kami nila Sen Aimee tsaka ni Sen Grease by 2022 eh.
Madam Chairwoman, nakita ko kasi sa dyaryo, yung Metro Manila, sabi 26% finished. Ano ibig sabihin nun?
Oo nga. Anong ibig sabihin
Nasa
nun?
dyaryo?
Yes po, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, ang pagsukat po natin ng progress po sa ating mga rail projects ay kinabibilangan po ng lahat na, apat na aspekto po ng project implementation. Una po, nandyan yung tinatawag natin na design. Ang design po kasi...
Madam Chairperson. Yusek Batan,
Yes,
sorry
Senator.
Kasi medyo nagmamadali, medyo mahaba ka kasi sumagot eh. Yung
Oo nga
tanong
eh.
lang
Ilan
naman, di ba,
naman?
what is the 26%, di ba?
Oh,
Sorry, hindi
Madam-
naman sa kaso lang kasi ang dami namin hearing sabay-sabay.
Sabay-sabay yung hearing.
Madam Chair, apat na components po. Nandyan po yung ating construction progress, nandyan po yung ating procurement progress, yung ating pong right-of-way acquisition progress, at ang ating pong design progress. Lahat po kabilang doon po sa ating progress rate, Madam Chair.
Okay. Siguro mo, Senator Nancy,
Madam
you
Chair,
have a
isang
follow-up.
tanong lang, kasi nga, since na pag-uusapan natin yung subway, in light of climate change, and alam naman natin yung nangyari sa New York, di ba, na who would have thought na babahain yung subway sa New York, and I think sa China, meron din, may mga namatay pa. Na-incorporate nyo na ba dun sa design nyo? Dahil alam naman natin na yung Metro Manila is flood-prone.
Yes po, Madam Chair. Mula po doon sa pagpili natin ng ating partner doon po sa ating subway, ang Japan po ang ating partner sa Metro Manila Subway Project, ay kinonsider na po at tinignan natin yung kanilang experience, yung kanila pong background sa Japan, dahil po, in fact, sa Japan po, meron na po silang mga subway sa reclaimed land, mas madalas po sa kanila ang mga earthquake events po, at sila po ay equally prone po to typhoons. So lahat po ng mga best practices, lahat po ng mga engineering innovations po na ginagamit sa Japan ay gagamitin po para sa Metro Manila Subway Project.
Okay. Thank you, Sen. Grace.
Okay. Siguro matanong ko si Secretary Togade. Sir, dahil nga pinayagan ng DBM ay malagay ang ganito kalaking pondo para sa rail ng 110 billion. Sa inyo pong palagay, pwede ba nating ilipat ito sa mga ibang sinasabi ninyo na hindi na pondohan? Katulad ng para sa road, para sa air, o ano pang mga ibang sektor ni?
Opo, by congressional amendments, by institutional amendments, pwede kong gawin yan. Ipoprograma ko yan. Dapat po talaga, tama po kayo, na dapat pangalagaan din ng pondo ng ibang proyekto, lalo tigit yung tinatawag sa sectoral at sa aviation.
Oo, kasi Secretary Tugade, pag kayo na yung nandito, kayo rin yung sasakit ang ulo, paano ninyo iaalat yung mga ibang budget na kulang.
Madam Chair, may hugot kayo.
Kayo rin yung makikipag-usap sa DBM, paano yan? So anyway.
Talagang nakakagulat lang po, ma'am, at natutuwa ho ako sa mga obserbasyon na pinupunto ng komite ho ngayon. Talagang mukhang meron kong nakalpas. Kaya nga dapat lagyan din ho natin pondo yung ibang sektor. Kung kinakailangan hong balansehin yung pinansyal na pangangailangan ng rails, handa po kaming tanggapin at gawin yon. Nang sa ganun, akalain mo naman, Madam Chair, kapareho na nabanggit nyo kanina, 1 milyon lang sa road sector. Nandiyan yung service contracting, nandiyan yung mga bike lane, nandiyan yung libre sakay.
Oo. At saka alam niyo, sir, marami din, meron din kaming natanggap na dun sa service contracting, hanggang ngayon hindi pa sila nababayaran. May grupo po yun. Siguro, those are one of the things that we have to coordinate with your office na mabayaran na sila.
Tama po, Madam Chair. In fact, kaninang umaga, meron ako mga reklamo at humingi ako ng pulong-pulong sa LTFRB at nakipagpulong ulit sila sa Land Bank na kung saan umusad naman yung pagbabayad dun sa mga service contracting sa mga nahuli. Isipin po natin na nakaroon ho ng hulihan kasi na-approve lang yung 3 billion sa GAA itong mga nakaraang linggo. Pero umuusad na ho ngayon yan at ginagawa ho namin ang paraan upang sa ganoon makabilis yung pag-usad. Aminin ho na mayroong kakulangan sa pagbayad. Yun ho ay ina-address po namin ngayon. At handa ho kami makipagpulong sa inyong opisina nang sa ganoon magtulong-tulong po tayo na maibsan at ma-address itong pangangailangan na ito.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
yes,
sorry,
Nancy.
before we go dun sa service contracting, tapos na ba tayo dun sa rail? Or can I go back?
Actually, sa Nancy, palundag-lundag tayo eh. Kasi
Okay, hindi.
nga,
Tatanong ko lang kasi dun sa rail for next year, bakit nawala ng budget yung Mindanao Railway Project?
Madam Chair, sa katunayan po, nag-request din tayo ng budget po para sa Mindanao Railway Project for fiscal year 2022. Unfortunately po, hindi lang siya na pagbigyan po ng DBM. at tayo po ay intended po natin na mag-request din po sana kasama po ang Senado na malagyan po ng budget yung proyekto.
Okay. May dahilan ba na
Madam
binigay yung
Chair.
DBM kung bakit zinero nila itong project na to for next year? Di ba tuloy-tuloy naman yung proyekto? So, pag walang budget, ibig sabihin hindi gagalaw yung programa for next year.
Tama po kayo, Madam. Kung titingnan ho at re-repasuhin yung sinumiti naming budget, ibang-iba ho yung na-approve ng DBM. Yung mga i-raise nyo pong mga punto, i-raise na po namin sa kanila yun. Kailangan namin ito. Doon sa aviation, ma'am, 3 airport lang yata, 4 na airport lang yata yung binigyan kami ng budget na kung saan marami hong mga airports na kakailangang tapusin namin. Hindi ho umpisahan, ma'am, ha? Tapusin ho.
Okay. Yun lang po, Madam Chairperson.
Okay, thank you. Babalik ako sa service contracting ha. Kasi doon sa nabigay na almost 6 billion, napaka-konti lang po nang na-utilize. Alam naman natin ang daming mga drivers ang nawalan ng trabaho. So kung mabibigyan, ano kaya yung naging problema? Pwede kayo matanong ang LTFRB. Di ba sila dapat yon ang nagdi-distribute?
Opo, dinidistribute nila through Land Bank, government financing institution. With the permission of the chair, ilalagay ko po sa loop si Chairman Delgra at si Assistant Secretary Steve Pastor. Nang sa ganun,
Yes, please.
ma-address directly at directamente ang inyong katanungan, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Can we have Chairman Delgra?
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, honorable members of this committee.
Okay, Chairman, just answer us straightforward answers. Magkano yung budget na natanggap ninyo? Magkano yung na-disburse ninyo na pondo para sa service contracting?
Apo, I will go straight to the point on the budget, Madam Chair. There are actually 2 budgets for the same program of service contracting. The first budget was the one under Bayanihan 2, and then the second one is under the General Appropriations Act for this year, 2021. So, under Bayanihan 2 po, meron tayong 5.58 billion that was allocated for the service contracting program, and then 3 billion for the GAA of 2021. If I may, because there were already questions or concerns that were raised earlier regarding the budget allocation for the Bayanihan 2, I will, if I may, explain a little bit on the disbursement as well as the status of the implementation. On the budget side po, to put a bit of a context, we received the funds 3rd week or 2nd week of November, and then we launched it immediately thereafter. If we may recall, we had a 1-week event at Quezon Memorial Circle on the registration, onboarding, and orientation of drivers to participate in the service contracting program. This was limited initially to Manila, Cebu, and Davao, but when we noticed that there was a relatively slow takeout, for example, we expanded it in the other areas, and then we increased it also on the other modes and the other not only in the other areas of the 3 areas that I mentioned, but in all other regions, and increase the number of routes to participate in the program. Now, so by June 30, Bayanihan 2, if we may recall, initially ended December 31, 2020, and by law, it was extended to June 30, 2021. And at the end of that period, our utilization disbursement actually was 1,907,192,000 pesos.
So that's out of the 5.5, correct?
Opo. But I
So
like to
1.9 po.
1.9. But I'd like to clarify this figure, Madam Chair, for the record. This
Okay.
was the credit advice that we gave to Land Bank for Land Bank to credit it to the accounts of the payees. However, after
Ah,
Opo,
okay, I see.
kasi the money is not with us, the money is with Land Bank, and we simply give advice to Land Bank to credit it to the accounts of the payees. Uh, Apparently, weeks after that, actually it would take about 2 to 3 weeks for Land Bank to give us what we call a transaction report for us to know whether the credit advice was actually implemented. So when they gave us the transaction report, they gave us a transaction report saying that only 1,491,683,000 were actually credited. So almost 1.5 po. What happened to the more or less 400,000? According to Land Bank, they call it reconciliation of the accounts. So that is where we would like to also look into insofar as that reconciliation is concerned. Now, what happened to the balance po? Of the balance from 5.58 billion less the 1.9 that we have sent Land Bank for crediting. As early as June 10, we actually have asked DBM for guidance as to whether we can still run the program until the end, until the last day of the program, which is June 30, 2021, and pay it after that day. Because the program was quite unique, Madam Chair, such that this type of program mentions, specific to Bayanihan 2, that the program, allocation, obligation, and disbursement is supposed to end on June 30. This is quite unique. It's not like the ordinary budget that we have where when it is already obligated, meaning in this case, services rendered, even if the period has already ended, you can still pay after the period because it has already been obligated. However, our letter to DBM was responded to only after July. So, natali po yung kamay namin, so to speak, Madam Chair, when pagdating nung June 30. In fact, we still tried to send credit advices to Land Bank on July 1 and July 2, but Land Bank on their own also said, let's wait for the advice of DBM because they themselves would not want to credit. Ibig sabihin, they don't want to disburse. So, natenga more or less yung pera po doon. So, what was advised by Land Bank was, because we still have payables in the amount of 3.38 billion after June 30, what was advised to us by DBM was to return the what we call unspent amount to the National Treasury and request for another fund release for the 3.38 billion, which we did immediately thereafter. Because this is a special request, it has to pass through the Office of the President, and we appreciate the presidential intervention, if I may, Madam Chair, and for which the 3.38 billion was actually released sometime this September, only September. And that's the reason why ongoing na po yung pagbabayad namin doon sa payable na 3.38 billion pesos. Again, to give context, this is supposed to be payable as of June 30, pero ngayon pa po namin babayaran yung... Actually, nagsisimula na po, binabayaran na po natin yung payables po natin in the amount of 3.38 billion. Now,
okay, so sir, you have... I have a quick question. So the 3 billion is available and you're launching efforts to be able to distribute this. Am I correct?
Yes po, binabayaran na po sa ngayon, and in fact we are closely coordinating with Land Bank kasi hinihintay na po ito ng mga payees, no, ng mga chuper at sa mga operator na kailangan na rin talagang bayaran. But as
okay,
regards,
so are you confident that you will be able to utilize this and disburse this before the year ends?
we're not looking at year-end, Your Honor, because I'd like to distinguish the amounts that I have made mention earlier. the 3.38 billion was the fund request to pay for the payables for services rendered as of June 30 to 2021. Yung sinasabi ko pong another fund of 3 billion, it is already ongoing, yung proyekto po. Nagsimula po nung 3 weeks ago, ongoing po ito. At tuloy-tuloy yung pagbabayad until the end of the year. For the payables po, we will be paying, hopefully, before the end of this week or early this week, we would be able to essentially pay for the amount.
Madam Chair, may I intervene? Ang tinatanong lang ni Madam Chair, kung
Yes,
yung
yes.
sa bayanihan to na 3 billion something, mababayaran ba until the end of the year? Yun lang ang tinatanong ni Madam Chair. At ang sinabi mo, you are not looking at the end of the year, you are looking where? Kailan mababayaran yung balance dun sa bayanihan to? Yun lang ang tinatanong ni Madam Chair. Pakisagot mo yun at may programa naman tayo dyan.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, Madam Chair. The initial deadline was supposed to be end of this month, which is today. But the coordination meeting that we had late last night with Land Bank, we would foresee that we'd be able to pay it next week in full.
So in other words,
we will-
Madam Chair, Chairman Delgra, hindi aabot end of the year yung bayanihan to. Ang sinasabi mo ngayon, sa plano at pagpaporsige ng LTFRB, katuwang at kasama ang Land Bank, baka matapos yan in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Ganun ba yun? Just helping and clarifying, Madam Chair, with due indulgence po.
Yes, that's much appreciated. Yes, Chairman Delgra.
Absolutely correct, as mentioned by Secretary Art po.
Ayun naman pala haba pa ng explanation natin. So, yung 3 billion na yon, madi-disburse ninyo within the next month at the most.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, one last question.
Madam Chair, in other words po, yung provision sa bayanihan to na sinasabi nung audit nung December na hindi nagastos po yung 3 billion or so, obligated na yan, nagastos na po yan at mababayaran po in the next 2 weeks. Ganun na yun, Chairman Delgra.
The one that yung naiwan po, tama po.
Okay. Chairman Delgra, may mga ibang may utang pa kayo ha. So, na dumaan sa opisina namin, ibibigay ko sa inyo. Those are one of the submissions that we would like you to attend to before we can recommend the budget to plenary. Kasi importante mabayaran natin yung utang, nandiyan naman yung pera Kawawa rin yung mga drivers.
Yes po, we would appreciate that very much, Madam Chair, as we do with the other requests that as regards the payables, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, another thing is, and I'd like to thank also the DOTr. Kasi apparently, on September 23, Grab Philippines and Move It launched a partnership where patrons could book a ride from Move It through the Grab platform. The problem is this is unfair competition kasi Grab Philippines participate in the ongoing motorcycle taxi pilot program who is not originally part of it. Pero na-resolve na yan ng DOTr, ng LTFRB. So, I understand you disallowed this, right? Hindi na ninyo pinayagan na mag-merge muna yung Move It at Grab or sumali dito sa pilot program ng motorcycle of taxis for hire?
With the permission of the Chair, tama po kayo. Meron ho akong mga nakita dyan at obserbasyon na pinarating ko naman sa LTFRB at sa Technical Working Group na kung saan inuugma at tinatali ko ho yung desisyon ng tie-up ng Grab sa Kamubit doon sa Technical Working Group in relation to the cycle endeavors. With the permission of the Chair, hayaan ko ho si ASEC Steve Pastor na siya po kasama si General Galvante ang tumututok niyan para lang hands-on, direct and immediate. Madam Chair, with your permission.
Yes, please, go ahead. Mr. Pastor.
Magandang hapon po, Madam Chair. Magandang hapon po sa mga members po ng Honorable Committee na ito. Tama po yung nabanggit ng Secretary Tugade, Madam Chair, na nag-issue po ang Technical Working Group led by co-chairpersons po. Assistant Secretary Manny Gonzales and Board Member Joel Pernito, na kung saan po hinihinto po muna ang pag-implement nitong partnership po ng Move It at gayon din po ng Grab. At ito po ay subject to further study pa ng Technical Working Group and submission of the proponents po ng kaukulang mga dokumento. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oo, pwede bang, can you submit that in writing that you're suspending it? Kasi ito yung sa akin, ano, if the goalposts have changed, it's not anymore a reliable study for the motorcycle taxis for hire. Kasi unfair na yon. And then we also have to get the Philippine Competition Commission's take on this. So, gusto ko in writing, ayoko yung sinabi lang ninyo na ganyan, no? Paki-submit to my office in writing na suspended ito. And then, ano ba yung time frame ninyo of the suspension? Dapat until certain issues are properly resolved with the proper public hearing and also with the participation of the Philippine Competition Commission. I don't think that you should allow it because it would be totally unfair for them.
Yes, Madam Chair. Tama po kayo. In fact po,
In writing, in writing. Submit to me in writing.
Yes, Madam Chair. Nag-issue na po ang Technical Working Group noong September 28 ng kaukulang mga letters po, no, para po sa ating proponents. Gayun din po sa opisina po ninyo, Madam Chair. Sisiguraduhin na lang po namin na may padala po ito sa pinakamabilis na panahon. Salamat po.
Thank you. Kay Secretary Tugade naman, meron kasing very interesting project na nababasa namin sa dyaryo. Itong expressway sa Pasig River, the Pasig Taref ba ang tawag doon?
Parex, Madam Chairwoman. Pasig River Expressway po, Madam Chairwoman.
Oo. It seems very promising, although, of course, there are some questions about it. Can you explain to me the advantage of this one?
Madam Chairwoman, on behalf of the Secretary po, no, nag-ano na siya. At Madam Chairwoman po, ng aming pong pinag-uusapan, ang Parex. Ito po kasi ay magandang proyekto sapagkat, Madam Chairwoman, the Secretary.
Yung Parex po, ito ho yung isang proyekto dito sa Pasig River. Una ho, liwanagin ko lang ho, hindi ho ito proyekto sa ibabaw ng buong kabuuan ng Pasig River. Ito ho sa gilid at merong expressway na gagawin dyan. Pangalawa ho, yung dredging ho continuous. Ibig sabihin, yung patay na Pasig River ngayon ay madadagdagan buhay kasi makakaroon ng continuous dredging. Pangatlo ho, ito ho yung vista ng Pasig River sa Parex na makikita nyo, isang maganda at kaaya-ayang tanawin pagkat nasa plano ho at tinutumbok ito na makakaroon ng tinatawag na active transport system. May bike lane, may greenways, saka may mga busways. Ito ho yung mga planong kabuuan na ginagawa with ang offer ng San Miguel. Liwanagin ko lang ho, yung programang ito ay pondo ho ng pribado. Sa kanila ho lahat ito. At yung mga environmentalists na nakikitulong dito ay sige-siging nag-uusap sila. Pinangako ho na hindi lang ho aadresin yung tinatawag na traffic congestion o busway, aadresin ho yung environment protection. Ito ho yung ginagawa ng proponent. Imagine nyo rin ho, bigyan ko lang ho ng buod at kabuuan, Madam Chair, if I may. Itong mga nakarang buwan, nagkaroon ng Skyway 3. Ito ho, kinonect ng Skyway 3, yung North and South. Ako ho yung isang nakikinabang dyan kasi ako'y namamasukan ho sa clerk sa Department ng Transportation. Itong Pasig River Expressway, ito ho yung makokonect east to west. May connection ka na sa North and South, may connection ka pa ho sa east to west. Yung connection na ginagawa, pinapangako ho ni ng San Miguel at ni Mr. Ramon Ang na ito po ay magiging environment friendly, pangangalagaan ng river. In fact, yung sinasabing papatayin ang Pasig, hindi ho. Ang plano ho dito, bubuhayin nga po yung Pasig River. Ito ho yung buod at generic presentation, Madam Chair, if I may. Pasensya na ho, tumayo ako kanina. Nakabalik na po. Maraming salamat ho, Madam Chair.
Actually, Secretary Tugade, I understand there are some concerns about the environment, but I, 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 I believe that the proposal na magkakaroon ng dredging doon and on a regular basis, di ba? Hindi lang yung one time, big time. On a
Hindi po.
regular basis, tapos sa gilid lang. The truth is, the other proponents against it are saying na we are encouraging more motor vehicles. But that's not the case because to really lessen motor vehicles, we need to ramp up on public transportation. Yun eh. But we really need more roads. And this is the fastest way we can do it. So it's promising. We would like to get more materials about it. But just offhand, looking at it, it is really worth considering because of the congestion that we are faced with every day. So again, no cost ito, sabi ninyo, no cost to the government.
No cost to the government.
Tapos, ano yung travel time from
Sa gilid.
Manila to...
Maibsan ho yan. Yung 2 oras na binabagtas po, mga magiging 20 to 30 minutes talaga ho yan, east to west. Yun ho. Tapos yung sinasabing dadami yung sasakyan, hindi ho expressway ang nagpapadami ng mga sasakyan. Ibang kadahilanan ho yun. Ganun pa man, pinangako ho ng proponent na sa pagbubuo nitong proyektong ito, magkakaroon ho ng continuous dialogue and continuous sharing of information. Nasa ganun, mapuntuhan yung pangangailangan hindi lang ho ng traffic congestion, hindi lang ho yung mobility, but more importantly, the environment, the greening of the surrounding. Kaya nga ba, sinasabi ko kanina, dagdag ho doon sa plano dito sa expressway, yung tinatawag na active transport, may biking lane, merong greenways, at makikita naman. Hindi ho papatayin ang Pasig. Ngayon ho bubuhayin yung Pasig. Na ngayon, aminin po natin, Madam Chair, naghihingalo na yan kung hindi patayan. Kaya nga yung continuous dredging at inyong proyektong ito ay makakatulong. Ganun pa man, kung meron hong alinlangan at mga suwestyon ng ibang sektor, handa ho yung tinatawag na proponent na makipagdialogo sa kanya. Marahil, Madam Chair, yung DOTr, kasama yung inyong komite, kasama yung inyong opisina, magtulong-tulong ho tayo dito para yung advokasya na magkaroon ng mas madaming kalsada, mobility, and at the same time, preserving the environment po ay mabigyan buhay. Salamat po, Madam Chair.
Maganda yan.
Madam Chairperson.
Yes, but before Senator Nancy, is Senator Marcos still going to ask?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
If I have
So
anything
after-
to ask.
So this will be the order. Senator Binay will ask, and then Senator Aimee, and then lastly, Senator Mig Zubiri. Go ahead, Senator Nancy.
Madam Chair, start na to the question. Idudugtong ko lang dun sa tanong mo sana eh. I think, sorry kasi in and out of the hearing ako. Yung topic ba kanina was about the Pasig River Project?
Yes, Senator Nancy, it was.
Well, siguro tatanong ko lang kung bakit, hindi ba napag-aralan kung mas maigi na rail yung ilagay doon and not na hindi kalsada? Or what are the other modes na pwede itayo along the Pasig River?
Meron hong mga...
Or kasi unsolicited to. Kasi di ba, I mean, based lang from my experience kasi yung, kunyari, itong SLEX, dati, maluwag yan if you're going to Alabang. But syempre, dumadami tayo. So ngayon, traffic na din. May times na, may oras na nagta-traffic na din. So na pag-aralan mo ba yan? Or, kasi diba, I mean, in Europe, we can see na yung ferry along their rivers, isa yun dun sa ginagawa nila to transport people. Yun lang naman ho.
That's also something to consider. Rail can carry more people.
And ano ba to? May
opo.
toll din? Pag natapos na ho ba to, may toll booth din siya? Or it's free of use to everybody?
Siguro may toll yan.
Meron pong toll ito, ma'am, kasi una, proponent-based cost ho nila to. Ito ho yung tinatawag na isang proyektong proponent-based inisyatibo ho ng pribado ito. At nakita po naman yung reasonability and necessity and the beauty of the proposal. Kaya inaksyonan po ito ng TRB as a proponent-based project. Private initiative po.
Secretary, hindi ko kasi ma-picture. Ano ho ba to? Sa gilid lang ng river o papatungan niya yung gitna ng river? O magiging nasa ibabaw siya ng river?
Hindi po sa ibabaw ng river, definitely. Ito po ang sanabi at tinatanong kong paulit-ulit sa gilid po ng river.
So yung, for example, dito sa Makati, yung JP Rizal namin along the river yan. So ipapatong siya along that road. I would assume.
Siguro ganun ho yun. Kasi kung susundan mo along the river, by the side of the river, dapat ho ganun. Masyado pong technical, hindi ho ako handang sagutin yung technical matter na yan ngayon, ma'am.
Hindi, okay lang, hindi naman kasama yan sa budget natin, no? Pero,
Hindi nga.
just pwede bang matanong, kailan ba yan, approved na po ba yan? Mag-uumpisa na ba yan? O hindi pa?
Nag-approve na ho yung proyekto. Nakikipag-ugnayan ho yung proponent kay Mr. Palafox ho yata, kay Mr. Palafox, para magawa yung design. Ito, ang katanungan is private all the way.
Pero na-approve na po ito ng NEDA?
Hindi ho nagdaan sa NEDA ito.
Talaga? Hindi kailangan dumaan sa NEDA
Madam
yan?
Chairwoman, if I may po.
Yes.
Pagdating po kasi sa atin sa mga STOA, no, atin sa Supplemental Toll Operating Agreement, iba pong batas yung sinusunod natin dito, tulad po sa pagpapatuloy ng mga expressway natin. Nakalimutan, it's a presidential decree, I just forgot the number po, no? Pero ibang batas. Ang proseso po dito, pagka-approve po ng TRB, is composed of 5 agencies, DOTr, DPWH, DOF, NEDA, and a private sector. Ito pong STOA ay aprobohan din po ng Office of the President. Yan po yung proseso ang ating sinusunod. Ngayon
So,
po,
dadaan pa kayo ng TRB ngayon?
tapos na po sa TRB na naaprobahan na po natin ang STOA. Yung STOA po ay for the approval na po ng Office of the President ngayon.
Okay.
Pagkatapos po,
So tapos na din sa NEDA.
Nandun na yung NEDA
kasama po namin ang NEDA sa
Oo.
TRB, ma'am.
Very
Iba
good.
pong, thank you po. At saka DOF po, Madam Chairwoman.
Hindi. So, Madam Chairperson, yung suggest, kasi di ba, alam naman natin sa Europe, they make use of their river as part ng kanilang transportation. Wala bang ganung ano ba yan? Long-term plan for Pasig River?
Madam Chair, may tama ho kayo. Part of the basket of solution, yung mix ko ng railroad ferries, it does not exclude the other. Meron hong compulsion yan and coordination yan. At tama ho kayo, talagang ganyan ho yung nangyayari sa ibang parte at lugar ng mundo. Wala ho naman magbabawal na later on kung makikita yung pakinabang, ganda at reasonability nitong mixed use na tinatawag, pwede hong puntuhan yan in the future.
Okay.
Okay.
Senator...
Hindi na ba ako? Should I, ito na ba yung start ng Madam Chairperson or can I ask my other question?
meron pa. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Hindi, update lang from my questions last year. Yung mga BRT projects. Ano na ho yung status? Like Cebu Bus, Rapid Transit.
Madam Chairwoman, with your permission po, I'm going to refer the question to Asek Pastor, yung head po ng road sector namin. Asek Pastor, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Para po sa ating BRT project, Cebu, ito po ay nagkaroon po ng failure bidding, no, para po sa package 1 natin, na kung saan dapat ito po ay magsisimula na ng operation itong first quarter of 2022. Dahil po dito sa failure bidding na ito, ang atin pong technical working group at ang Cebu BRT PMO ay nagsasaayos po ng ating mga bid documents kung may kailangang ayusin, kung may kailangang improve at kailangan pa hong stakeholders consultation in coordination with our funding source po, no, the World Bank. So ito po ay sinasaayos ngayon at ang intention po natin is i-rebid po ito during this last quarter of the year.
Yeah, pero nag-mature na yung loan na to, di ba? Last June.
Yes, Madam Chair, it was extended po with the World Bank.
Up to. So yung extension na kailan? Up to when?
May I defer po to Yusek Anluntok for the specific details po, being the BRT head po namin, so that masagot po yung specific details, Madam Chair. Thank you.
And meron bang commitment fees na binayaran tayo? Kasi hindi nga, well, technically, wala pa din pala siyang kahit isang hukay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Yusek.
Yung pong loan with World Bank, na-extend po siya up to June of 2023. At wala pong nakasaad na commitment fee na binabayaran tayo doon sa World Bank loan.
Okay, pero Yusek, Lontok, for next year, wala rin kayong budget for this, di ba? Kasi yung road nyo nga, 1 million lang eh.
Yun nga po, pero po pinag-uusapan na po namin with the road sector, kay ASEC Pastor, kung paano siya magbibigyan din ng pondo.
If I may, Madam Chair. Opo, tama po yung nabanggit ni Yusek Lontok. For 2022 GAA, the Department of Transportation Road Sector submitted a request po for funding in the amount of
actually, Madam Chairperson, I think may representative ata tayo ng DBM dito.
Do we have a concept? Do we have a DBM representative?
Wala
baka
po,
wala?
wala po ma'am ngayon.
Diba usually pag budget hearing, may DBM representative. Kasi maganda malaman kung bakit ganito naging hugis ng budget nila, naging 1 million na lang yung road.
We'll check po sa LBRMO po.
Pag dinig ko dyan, ang bagal-bagal ng utilization at saka ina-assume na tapos na yung mga project kasi katakot-takot na extension na yan. Parang may
Kaya hindi na sila naglagay.
Oo, parang gano'n at hindi naman nagagamit.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, Madam Chair, last lang, yung EDSA Greenways Project na loan din, ito yung pinush to ni Majority Floor Leader Sean Grace, kung natatandaan. May elevated walkways along EDSA. Ano na yung status nito?
If I may, Madam Chair. Ongoing na po ang utility relocation po natin dito po sa EDSA. Gayon din po yung ating procurement documents has been approved by the department po and is ready for publication na po in 2 weeks' time. So,
loan din to, di ba?
Tama po, Madam Chair.
How much was the loan? And hindi ba since katulad na itong BRT loan to, hindi ba dapat automatic dapat may laman yung project na yon? Hindi ba dapat ganun? Kasi technically naman, di ba, yung loan na yon is for that project. So, bakit na zero out for next year?
Tama po, Madam Chair. We requested po actually 125 million lang po for 2022 GAA. Kaya lang po hindi po kami naisama sa NEP po, Madam Chair.
Kaya, so, lumalabas hindi pala, Madam Chair, hindi pala siya automatic na nagiging appropriation kung may loan na for that specific project. Hindi pala siya automatic. Tama po ba, Yusek Lonto?
Tama po, Madam Chair. Hindi po automatic.
Yun na po yung nangyayari ngayon. Hindi po automatic.
Okay, so pwedeng nagagamit ng DBM for other projects. Pwede ba yung ganon?
Madam Chairwoman, hindi naman po. It's just that the DBM finds it not suited for DOTr at this point in time, yung mga project po. Hindi po naman pwedeng gamitin sa ibang proyekto po yun.
Okay. Sige, Madam Chairperson, last na lang. Kasi nagiging reklamo ngayon dito sa Metro Manila as we open the economy, yung kakulangan ng public transportation. Yung ginawa niyo bang EDSA busway, what is the ano yung capacity niyan na kaya niyang isakay na riding public?
If I may, Madam Chair. Opo. Based on our study is that 100,000 po passengers ang capacity per day. But as of now, kasi po meron po tayong patuloy na programa under sa service contracting kung saan libre po ang sakay sa ating EDSA busway, umaabot na po tayo ng 110,000 average per day. And there are times during Mondays or Fridays po, umaabot po tayo ng 170,000 passengers per day. Kung kaya't kami po ay humingi rin po ng budget para sa EDSA busway sa 2022 GAA in the amount of 345 million. Ngunit hindi rin po naisama sa amin.
Hindi, ang tinatanong ko is kasi 'di ba, may limitation naman yung kalsada na 'yon, 'di ba? It can only accommodate X number of bus. Tama. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Madam Chair. It was designed po na mabawasan yung mga bus sa EDSA.
Yes. So
ilan
yung kayang i-accommodate nung busway na yun? What is the full capacity of buses that can travel along that side?
Apo. Around 700 bus units po, but we have projected po to optimize the run of our operators and at the same time, magkaroon ho sila ng sufficienteng income po. We have allotted 550 units po.
Wait, so 700 yung maximum. 700 bus units. And at the moment, ilan yung umiikot ngayon doon?
Based on the capacity is 550 units, but as of now po, nasa 477 ang may special permits po natin because of dedicated low-floor bus units lang po yung inaalaw nating tumakbo doon.
So, technically, pwede pa kayo magdagdag?
Yes, Madam Chair.
And do you have plans? Kasi yun nga yung reklamo na nakikita natin, nagsisiksikan sila ngayon sa bus na hindi dapat kasi nga hindi COVID compliant pag nagsisiksikan eh.
Opo. Madam Chair, tuloy-tuloy po yung deployment ng bus units additional, nagsasubmit po sila ng application kasi po, ang preference po natin doon ay mga bus na may left side bus doors to promote safety po sa ating mga pasahero. But I'd like to give emphasis, Madam Chair, na sa EDSA busway po, we strictly follow yung 50% seating capacity dahil libre po it is under service contracting. So libreng sakay po ito, yung mga bus po natin, hindi po sila naghahabol na mapuno yung kanilang mga bus habang tumatakbo po dito.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you again, Senator Nancy. Totoo nga, pag nakita mo yung mga nakapila, hanggang ngayon, nakakaawa rin. No? Talagang sana magawa natin ng solusyon yan. Pero gaya nga na sinabi ninyo, yung rail na yun, 60 kilometers per hour, talagang bumilis-bilis na yan. Pero the reality of social distancing is really such a challenge. Anyway, okay, Senator Marcos. Thank you, Senator Nancy.
Thank you very much, Nance. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mabalik lang sa usapin ng budget, tatanungin ko yung laging tinatanong taon-taon na the total amount released in 2020 for the Office of the Secretary was 120.196 billion. And the unreleased amount reached 1.202 billion, a total of 116.321 billion has been obligated or 96.78%, leaving an unobligated sum of 3.875 billion. The department's disbursement rate for last year, therefore, was a meager 36.86%. Among the agencies of DOTr, the Office of the Secretary had the lowest disbursement rate of 28.36%, certainly rock bottom for the entire government. Ngayon, marami tayong reklamo na binabawasan at kinakaltasan yung iba't ibang programa, pero kung titignan, hindi naman nagagastos ng sapat. Bakit pa dadagdagan kapag hindi nagagastos? So, unang-una, why was there an unobligated amount of 3.875 billion?
Oo nga, the DOTr unfortunately has one of the lowest absorptive capacities. Yun nga din ang isang itatanong natin, bakit like 36% lang yata yung, 34% lang ang actually obligated. Ano nangyari?
Tapos yung disbursement, mas
ganito
malala
po yun,
pa
Madam
kasi
Chair.
28% lang. Grabe talaga. So, yun.
Ganito po
Okay.
yan, Madam Chair, if I may. Number one, yung absorptive capacity po ng bawat sektor ng kagawaran, ibibigay po ng detalye ng ating Under Secretary for Finance. Number two ho, liwanagin ko lang ho.
Kung maaari, yung Office of the Secretary sana ang focus natin. Kasi yun ang pinakamalaki at yun ang pinakamabagal mag-disburse.
Yun po ma'am yung tutumbukin ko na i-explain ko lang yung preparatory explanation. Yung Office of the Secretary, hindi po yung Office of the Secretary mismo yan. Nakapaloob ho dyan yung ibang ahensya at ibang sektor. With that statement, Madam, may I yield the floor to Yusek Banoy to give the details on the composition of the Office of the Secretary, the absorptive capacity, para nang sa ganoon mapaliwanagan. With the permission of the Chair.
Madam Chairwoman,
Okay.
please. Salamat po, Secretary. Liliwanagin ko lang po no, kung what is yung sinasabi nating mababang absorptive capacity ng ating DOTr, OSEC at kasama po yung mga attached agencies nito po. Nung sinusuri po ng COA ang ating libro de benta o books of accounts po, hindi po nila na isasama sa pagkonsidera ng ating absorptive capacity at disbursement rate ang tinatawag nating mga loan proceeds. Alalahanin po natin, Madam Chairwoman, Senator.
So how much of this is loan proceeds? Itong halos 4 billion na unobligated. Ang sinasabi niyo, puros loan proceeds to?
And po, for the disbursement rate po, they were not able to consider the 33 billion na disbursement of the OTR po. And so far as the unobligated na 4-point-something billion po na minimal, sabihin natin po na 4-point-something billion, ito po ay makapagbibigay po kami ng paliwanag dito at pwede natin isumiti kung ano po yung mga proyektong hindi nasama sa ating sa obligation. At any rate, Madam Chairwoman, masabi ko lang po na without justifying the COVID situation po last year, no, ang ating obligation rate po para sa kagawaran is 96.3% po ang DOTr. May mga proyekto
naman, wala pa pong COVID. Nung 2017, ganito na yung problema. 2018 at saka 2019, laging problema yung absorptive capacity ng DOTr. Hindi pa natin alam kung ano yung COVID-19 noon. May problema na talaga. Bakit ganito taon-taon? Ngayon, lumala nga dahil nga COVID.
Ang dato po namin, Madam Chairwoman, Senator Amy, pagdating po sa 2018, pwede po namin isubmit po ito, no? Ang disbursement rate po namin based on obligation is 60.66%. Pagdating naman po sa 2019 is 82%. Sa 2020 naman po, meron kaming 62.65%. Ito po ay sinasabi po namin, Madam Chairwoman, Senator Amy, meron po kaming dato na naiiba po sa pagkaano ng ating COA kasi nagka-cut off po ang ating COA.
Okay, ganito na lang kasi yung nababasa po namin yung nasa COA at saka talagang abala-abala kami sa COA ngayon. Perhaps you can just submit to my chairwoman, Senator Poe, and we can study it further. Ang sinasabi mo ba, nagkasundo na kayo ng COA dito sa sinasabing unobligated, undisbursed amounts? Nabigyan na ba ninyo ng liwanag yung COA para scratched off the books na itong mga red flag na ito?
Madam Chairwoman, Senator Amy, tama po, no? Meron po tayo mga exit conferences sa ating COA kung saan tinataas nila o fina-flag nila yung sa tingin nila pagkukulang ng DOTr. Sa ganoon naman po sa DOTr at mga attached agencies nito, binibigay po namin ang mga paliwanag.
Kasi matagal na yun. Lumabas ito, December. Yung exit conference, immediately thereafter. Papasok na tayo ng October.
Binigay na
ba to? Ayos na ba to?
Binigay na po namin.
Yes or no lang naman yung tanong, yung sagot.
Sinumitin na po namin sa COA ang aming mga explanation, Madam Chairwoman.
Tinatanong lang kasi mahirap yung ganito. According to the COA report also, Madam Chairwoman, for 2020, several agencies under DOTr made advance payments to PITC, the highly controversial procurement agency. Funds transferred by Marina Co to PITC totaling 63 million remained outstanding, and they stagnated in PITC for almost 6 years in certain cases. The Coast Guard made similar transfers as well as the Zamboanga Economic Zone. Kasama ba yan sa Zamboanga pinag-uusapan na airport? In any case, all these projects that are somehow affiliated to DOTr were flagged by the COA. Dahil nga, nandun sa PITC, nakapark from 1 year to 6 years. Ano na nangyari dito sa mga pondong to?
Madam Chairwoman, Senator Amy, kung papahintulutan niyo po, may we ask Marina to please respond to the question of the good senator.
Sige. Ito yung 63 million po na remained outstanding. After 6 years, yung iba.
Any representative from Marina po?
Nasaan yung Marina, Rep?
Sige, hihingin ko na lang kung ano yung report. Why was there a transfer of funds to PITC again and again? Paulit-ulit na ito, na-flag na ito eh, pati yung sa Coast Guard. And why haven't these amounts been liquidated or the goods and services required delivered, some from 1 to 3 years, other funds up to 6 years? Ano ba nangyari dyan? I see the video window of the Marina Administrator, Madam Chairwoman. Baka may gustong sumagot.
Ma'am,
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, Senator Amy. Yes po, meron po kaming 61 million na finorward namin sa PITC po dahil hindi po namin na-process yung procurement na yan. This is about computer requirements of the Maritime Industry Authority. But we will submit the details to the Office of the
Yes, just
Chair.
briefly,
Madam Chair.
may we know why did it languish with the PITC with no action on your part for 6 years? Ang tagal naman yata.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, Senator Amy, usually yung procurement ng PITC, marami pong ahensya yung nag-transfer sa kanila. Usually matagal po yan, ma'am, yung procurement process sa PITC. But we keep on following up this project of ours to PITC. Pero hindi rin
Kasi
nagbubuo sa PITC.
ang mahirap po dyan, administrator, may pera pala kayo nakatago sa PITC. Wala kayong pakialam kung na-procure o hindi sa loob ng 6 na taon. Bakit kami magre-release ng budget sa inyo? May pera pala kayong tago.
Yes, Madam Chair, Senator Amy po. Pina-follow up po namin ito lagi. We can produce the documentation that we are following this up every year. But the
Ano ang sagot
process
ng PITC?
Yes, ma'am. The process is with PITC, ma'am. Hindi po naman namin control dyan, ma'am.
Hindi ba ninyo iniisip na dapat isuli na lang yung pera sa inyo? Kayo na lang maghanap ng paraan na mag-procure ng computers. Lahat naman nagpo-procure ng computer. Hindi naman kailangan na PITC lamang ang bibili.
Yes, ma'am. Ang problema po kasi, ma'am, if it will be returned to Marina, i-revert po yan sa Treasury. So, this is one procurement process na pag hindi na process in the period, it have to go to PITC para ano yung project na yun. However,
yan na yung sinasabing pinaparking yung mga pondo na hindi na di-disburse. Sige, kung maaari, magbigay na lang kayo ng report at
Yes,
anong nangyari, nakababalaghan na 6 na taon hindi ginagalaw yung pera. Yung Philippine Coast Guard, may ganun din eh, na PITC, na ang tagal-tagal rin, nasa 3 years yata, na nandun pa rin yung pera, wala ring galaw. Meron
Madam
bang,
Chair?
Coast Guard dyan?
Madam Chair,
Opa.
if I may, sir?
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm Admiral Laroya of the Philippine Coast Guard, the Commandant of the Coast Guard, ma'am. As of today, ma'am, out of 164 million pesos worth of projects at PITC, we have already completed 125 million worth, and we only have 40 million left. In fact, ma'am, we actually follow up.
Nasabi na ninyo yan sa COA? Kasi
Yes,
yung
ma'am.
COA, sina-flag pa kayo?
Actually, ma'am, the report was already submitted to COA.
I see. Okay,
To our COA, ma'am.
Oh, good na.
Now, for the...
Sige, mag-submit na lang kayo sa chairwoman ko para pag tinanong
Yes,
yan,
ma'am.
alam namin kasi siguradong tatanungin ng ating senador na minority leader. He's certainly going to ask us about all these transfers to PITC, particularly those that have been burning a hole in their pocket for over 6 years.
Yes, ma'am. I will submit a report on that, ma'am. As regards to the Zamboanga Eco Zone, this is a building project that is inside the Eco Zone. Just so happened that the Eco Zones, they replaced their board members and they wanted a new contract with the Coast Guard. So we are actually just waiting for a new board members of the Zamboanga Eco Zone to finish the project, ma'am. Thank you.
So halo-halo, lahat samot-sari talaga yung mga project na dinadala sa PITC. May pagbili ng computer, may pagpatayo ng building, maski basta lang ma-parking dyan at hindi ma-revert sa treasury. Ganun ba yun?
Ma'am, if I may, ma'am, in the case of the Coast Guard, while the funding is obligated, ma'am, the number of days to complete the bidding process is cannot be done, such that if that happens, ma'am, if you fail to finish the bidding process, then the money reverts back to the treasury. Now, we are offered, of course, by PITC.
We've seen this scheme repeatedly through PSDBM as well as PITC DTI. We're just confused by the DOTr. Once again, you exceed our expectations because it's a 6-year period, gestation period. Ang haba naman.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sino yun?
With the permission of Ma'am Amy.
Oy, Manjo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Ma'am Amy, I hope you don't mind. Just a manifestation. Very valid yung points ni Senator Marcos. And I think a mere submission of documents might not be enough. I think they really have to present these to us through slides and better explanation. Like the presentation also earlier, although they mentioned some airports, Madam Chair, I've confided with you that I'm not very happy with what is happening with my Bukidnon Airport. Medyo yung pondo nawawala. No thanks to them, the DOTr. Ako po yung pondo niyan through the help of Senator
Loren pa. Madjo, Sen Loren pa yan.
2016 pa yan.
Also is having problems. Good news sana, ibibid na daw dapat this week yung Bukidnon Airport na udyot pa at nalipat na naman ang araw. So I think, Madam Chair, mine is an omnibus motion later to defer the budget to a later date, and they explain to us the provincial airport program and the questions of Senator Nancy, Senator Amy. Kasi madugo ito, Madam Chair. We have a very rabid Senate now. The executive seems to be hell-bent in fighting with the senators. So if we want to help the departments pass their budgets, they have to be clear and concise with their answers, Madam Chair. And because I'm there to support the budget of the DOTr, but even I have questions about implementation and obligation of their projects, particularly the local provincial airports. So, Madam Chair, later on, I will not stop the meeting, but later on, we may need another meeting for the DOTr. I think that's proper. It's such a large agency. Lots of questions to be asked by our colleagues. I know many colleagues of ours want to ask questions. Unfortunately, nagsabay-sabay yung hearing. May hearing on, I think the Senator Pia is also a hearing. And I believe many of the leadership are in the Blue Ribbon Committee, nagsabay din. So I know they manifested that they want to ask.
Majority Leader, maybe we can suspend this first. Diba? We can suspend.
It's your pleasure, ma'am. It is your pleasure, but definitely I would like to have
Can I
another
ask
hearing.
na lang for
So we can
information
present.
para paghandaan nila?
Okay, go ahead.
Sige.
So
Itatanong din
yun
to
na po,
sigurado.
Madam Chair, later on, I'm just requesting for another hearing on this. Thank you po.
Okay.
No,
Sige.
that's noted and will be complied with. Thank you, Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Majority. Thank you very much, Chair Po. Given that there's going to be a succeeding hearing, may I also inquire about the other red flag of COA in the 2020 audit report, that whereas DOTr has consistently boasted about collections of 2.16 billion, there is still 2.1 billion worth of license plates backlog. Ito na yung mga license plates na hinahanap ng lahat ng tao. And the undelivered license plates nationwide amounting to 2.159 billion. That's over 8,000 motorcycle plates, over 8 million motorcycle plates, I'm sorry, and 2.6 pairs of replacement motor vehicle license plates. What's the status of all these license plates and the utter and complete disarray that's manifested each time we inquire? What's being done to fix this? Is there a timeline? And do we know, is there a projection of how many license plates are really still lacking? May we have a complete report of these pending license plates, both the motorcycle and the motor vehicle?
Madam Chairwoman, Asik Galvante is here and he's ready to answer your query, Madam Chairwoman.
Yes, Madam Chairperson and Senator Amy Marcos. Insofar as the motor vehicle license plates are concerned, for July 1, 2016 to the present, we are already current, Your Honor, and we even have issued license plate from June 2030 pababa po. Yung hindi po nila na-issue ng license plate ng nakarang administrasyon, nabigyan na po natin yan. Ang natitira lang pong backlog.
Ang sinasabi po ninyo, lahat ng 8 million to na ibigay na yung 8 million.
Hindi po. Linawin ko lang po.
8 million na higit na motorcycle, saka yung 2.6
Linawin ko lang po.
million.
Four-wheel.
Po.
Madam Chairperson, ang binabanggit ko po ngayon muna ay yung pong license plate para sa four-wheel motor vehicles.
Okay.
Yung pong natitirang kakulangan ay yung pong replacement plates nung green and white na hanggang ngayon at hindi pa fully natutugunan. At ina-action na po namin yan. Inumpisan na po yung puno ng mga hindi na isyong kapalit ng green and white. Ngayon, yung sa motorcycle...
Marami-rami po nito, nasa na po tayo sa mga milyon-milyon na inaasahan na license plates?
Yun nga po, in-explain ko nga, Madam Chair.
Pero nasa four-wheel vehicle pa lang kayo, ang dai-dai pa nito eh.
Wala na po yung four-wheel motor vehicle plates po. Yung sinasabi ko nga po, current na po tayo dyan for the present. Okay. And ang tinutugunan po talagang nagkakaproblema po kami is that for the motorcycle plates, kung saan po yung bagong batas nag-uutos na babaguhin po ang size ng license plates ng motosiklo. Sa projection po ng LTO, kakailanganin ng mga 18 million hanggang sa June 2022. Ito po dahil sa increase ng registration ng motorcycle kung saan po nagkaroon ng average na around 1.2, 1.3 million for the past 2 years. Kaya sa ngayon po,
nakailang Blue Ribbon hearing na ako kasama ni Senator Gordon dito tungkol sa license plates na hindi matumbukan talaga yung problema. Ano ba talaga yung issue? Ba't pagkatagal-tagal? Ang sinisisi po ninyo, yung pabago-bagong size. Pero ang pagkalam ko, yung sukat na yan, tinakda na yan sa batas at tapos na. Ano pa yung problema?
Yes, Your Honor, Madam Chairperson. Tinutugunan po natin yan at simula nung 2000, yung mga narehistrong motorcycle simula nung 2018, nag-umpisa na po ang production natin yan na sa ngayon, nakaproduce na po tayo ng 4 million plates for that at na-distribute na ito at nagpapatuloy distribute mula 2018
onwards. Ninyo, 4 million, you've done 4 million. They've been issued, they've been transferred, they've been given to the owners. But the number I have is 8 million 120, no?
Yeah, if I may continue, Your Honor, Madam Chairperson, yung pong kakulangan, dahil po sa kakulangan ng pondo at saka sa laki po ng backlog, kaya po kami nag-propose po sana na bigyan kami ng karagdagang pondo na around 2.6 billion para po yung backlog na napakalaki, pagagawa na po namin, kumbaga i-contract out para habang ginagawa po yung iba dito sa ating planta, matutulungan tayo if given the funds and the resources na paggawa po natin yan sa labas para mas madali po natin.
Malaki naman ng inyong opisina na nakapag-kolekta kayo ng 2.16 billion. Kung bakit hindi na muna yan gamitin para lang matapos yung
paliwanag ko lang po, Madam Chairperson.
He might be getting into bed fees and
wait, Madam Chairperson, with the permission of Sen Aimee, di ba binayaran yun ng car owner? So bakit mawawalan ng pondo?
Kaya nga, bayad naman to, tsaka pinagmalaki nga ninyo na malaki yung koleksyon niyo, higit na 2 billion. Nasa dyaryo
Madam Chairperson, if I may continue.
Yes, please. Enlighten us.
Yung pong binabayad ng mga motorista, hindi po naiiwan yan sa LTO. Yan po lahat tine-turn over sa ating kaban ng bayan. Kung kaya po ang LTO nanghihingi po ng pondo para tustusan yung mga pangailangang may produce na plaka. Kaya yun po ang ginawa natin. Kaya
so
lang po,
you're remitting this amount, the amounts collected are actually being remitted to the National Treasury. So in turn, you have to request additional funds to generate all this backlog. Ganun ba yun?
Yun po ang katotohanan na Madam Chairperson and Your Honors.
Paano itong sinasabi ninyo na 18 million na ang backlog? Lumaki pa lalo, mas malaki pa yung numero ninyo kaysa sa akin.
Hindi po, Your Honor, Madam Chairperson. Yun po ang projection ng LTO na kakailanganing may produce na plaka by June 2022. Kaya nga po nanghihingi kaming karagdagang pondo para po yung bat ng kakailanganing plaka at yung current matutugunan po.
I see. I suppose, Madam Chairwoman, we can ask what is their priority sa dagdag. But in the meantime, I have, like most of my colleagues here in the Senate, a gazillion questions sa DOTr. Pero hihingi na lang ako ng update, ng briefer tungkol sa Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program, itong license plates kung maaari. At isa pa, ano na po ang nangyari dun sa Unified RFID? Yun na lang po, puro request na lang for information para hindi tayo masyadong matagal. Maraming salamat po.
Okay. So you're just awaiting the information, Senator Aimee, to be submitted?
Yes, I think Madjo said that we will have a subsequent hearing and perhaps they can explain these controversial points more extensively there. Abangan ko na lang doon.
Okay, before we wrap this up, there's just an issue I'd like to raise. This is because I know that the number of driver's license applicants have gone down supposedly drastically. Well, aside from the pandemic, there are certain requirements now that have to be complied with. For example, theoretical driving course of 15 hours, which is actually physical presence, that costs about 1,657. then medical checkup between 400 to 500, student permit 318, practical driving course 5 to 8,000, non-pro license 820. So the cost is about 5,000 to 11,000 pesos. So can you please submit to us the current requirements for our next discussion? While LTO has free seminars, there are sit-down classes and are never enough for the number of applicants. So that's the next issue that we are going to take up. Another thing is, I want to have an update on the MBIS. Kasi ang alam ko, ang sinasabi ninyo, you're not going to suspend the operations of the old PETCs dahil kulang pa yung mga MBIS systems ninyo, centers ninyo. Pero ang nangyayari, pinapasara daw ninyo ang ibang PETCs sa ibang lugar. So be ready to answer those questions in our next hearing. Yun yung mga ano. Plus the submissions being requested by our fellow senators. We would also like to have a direct commitment with regards to certain projects like the Bukidnon Airport. And we're not saying this just because Senator Mix is our colleague. All of us have been to Bukidnon at one point or another to campaign, and we see the potential and actually what this province can contribute. Pero buwis buhay minsan yung pagbiyahe from Cagayan de Oro to Bukidnon at night. At napaka lalalim ng mga bangin doon. I mean, baka naman pwedeng maglagay na ng airport doon. So ano na yung nangyari, biglang na-postpone na naman daw. We want to have an update of that before we will probably submit the budget to plenary. So with that...
Madam Chairperson?
Yes, ma'am.
Last na lang. Kasi during the budget of DOT, merong nakalump dun sa budget ng DOTr na si Secretary Berna, hindi niya alam kung para saan siya. But ang label ay Tourism Development Program. So there's a 2,246,140 billion na amount under DOTr, pero ang label niya is Tourism Development Program. Pwede ho bang malaman kung ano ba itong 2 billion na ito na nakalagay sa pondo ng DOTr?
Gusto mo sagutin na nila ngayon? Baka naman alam
Or
naman
maybe kung alam na nila yung sagot, pero kung hahanapin pa nila, pwedeng in the next hearing.
Sige. DOTr, pakisubmit na rin yun. The Secretariat is taking note of the questions we have propounded today and that needs to be addressed.
With that, Madam Chairwoman, may I second the motion of our Majority Leader to defer the approval of the DOTr budget pending the submission of all the information requested.
Okay. We thank our resource persons as seconded by our colleague, Senator Marcos, and a motion by our Majority Leader. The budget of the Department of Transportation is hereby suspended. Not yet being submitted.
And Madam Chairperson, pwede sa next hearing, can we invite BBM para to shed light kung bakit ganito yung budget ng DOTr?
Okay, that is a good idea. Thank you for the reminder. All right, we shall now see you at the other hearing. Thank you again.
Thank you.